Welcome to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. Hey, that's me. Hi, and welcome to Positive Talk. Our show features the best positive stories and people from around the globe as we endeavor to answer the universal question of why am I here and what is my purpose? Understanding that can change everything, and knowing your greatness is fundamental to living your best life. So join us right now as together we work to create the adventure of our lifetime. And welcome everybody to the show today. I'm very excited. My friend Dana has brought a couple of really cool ladies with her today. And I'm going to have her introduce them in just a second. But I have to tell you something, Dana. Do you know who Carolyn Mace is?
Yeah, I think so.
She was on Oprah in 1998. And you know what she said?
What?
You know, the universal concept that everybody wants to know why they're really here and what they're really here to do. And so the entire show was based upon her talking about the archetypes of how different people are and what they would do and why they do what they do and all that kind of stuff. And I was thinking, now was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. And we're still talking about the same things, but we're bringing it back in a fresh and new way.
Yeah, it's true. We're still talking about it. There's new people coming into this world, and I think it's becoming more mainstream. I really do. I think we're headed in that direction. And there's a lot more conscious media popping up all over, like the Gaia channel and things like that, everywhere for people to listen in and to learn new things. And so and there's you know what's interesting, Kevin, this last week I actually listened to an article about how there's this mass exodus from these rigid spiritual structures. And so I think people are really opening up to new ways of viewing spirituality, and they're looking to people like Christina and April that are here today to really bring some and embrace some different aspects of spirituality that are valuable, really valuable.
Well, I agree with you. And because you brought them to us, I would love for you to introduce them to us.
Oh, I'd love that. So Christina and April are an incredible duo. Welcome to the show, ladies. We're so excited to have you.
Thank you so much.
Thank
you. Happy to be here.
Well, Christina and April are an incredible duo. They are both astrologists, both incredible in their own right. Lots of personal and professional development. April is so unique in her approach in helping parents in their children's astrology. That's one of the areas she loves so much and is so good at, and has given me unique insights to my own children on. And there's a lot more to April. April is very dynamic and very diverse in her gifts, which is so much fun. And then Christina is probably one of my most favorite mentors. Christina really helps bring people, and she's helped me. She's been one of my mentors recently to help me really make sure that how I'm presenting myself and how I'm showing up in the world is authentic and true to how my astrology. And you guys can explain this so much better than me, but my experience has been profound in that Christina has given me access to words and to a foundation of how to brand my business and go about my business in the way that feels liberating to my soul. It's like almost like every session we had, I just felt lighter and lighter and lighter. She also does toe reading, and she makes her own teas, and she's so dynamic in her gifts that we could talk for hours and hours. And we hope that the plan is actually that both of them will be regulars. So we're excited for that.
I'm really excited for that because toe reading, really?
Yes,
I know. And I'm going to tell you, Kevin, it is the easiest, most underrated and underknown modality out there. Anyone can use it. It's super easy. And it's part of my purpose and calling to bring this to the masses.
Well, I got to tell you, I've done over 2,000 interviews, and you're the first toe reader that I've interviewed.
And I bet you've never even heard of it, right?
I did when I was reading your bio about 10 minutes ago.
And that is the thing. And so getting this out, toereadingacademy.com is my website. And I've actually just recently partnered with a former student, and she's really got the bandwidth to really take this where I envision it. And I'm involved in a lot of things like Dana was talking about. So toe reading, yes, indeed. It's powerful. And both Dana and April know it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is going to be broadcast on the Brushwood Media Network. And so I would like us to go and start with, if it's all right with Dana, start with Astrology 101.
Let's do. And let's start with, I think this really strong foundation. I think sometimes there's some taboo around astrology or around toe reading or any of these things. Can we just address that for a second and start there? And let's just give people a little bit of perspective on that. And I think each of us can probably share a little bit. But Christina, what are your thoughts to anyone who's listening that's like, what? Like skeptic? I'm sure you've had many of those in your career, as your career has been very extensive. So tell me a little bit about your approach with that.
So the first question that I always say is, do you know what manages the tides? And most people do know that it is the moon. And I say, if the moon can do that to the ocean, what do you think it's doing to you? That is, a majority of what's in your body is water. So that's usually where I start. And then I do an analogy of the cosmic river going through. And the cosmic river, at the moment you were born, had stones in a certain place, literally rocks in the sky in a certain place, which created a blueprint. Now those rocks are going to move. And just like in a river, if the river was coming through and the stones had moved, it would shift the way things were moving around those stones. Lay that on top of how things were when you were born, and we are going to be impacted. And then I usually go and start talking about historical events that have happened that have alignment with certain planets. And then once we start, and I know that this is true for April too, because we've done this together, but we get into somebody's chart and they're wondering, how do we know this? They've never told anyone this. They may not have even known it themselves. And like you said earlier, suddenly they have this vocabulary around it. And usually if they'll spend just 15 minutes with me and we kind of cover those things, most people go, I'm not sure what I think, but I do not think that this is garbage anymore. And I also like to say astrology is a language. So saying you don't believe in it is like saying you don't believe in English or Spanish. It's a language. It's the language of interpreting the movements and the positioning of the stars. So you may not like it or understand it or know it, but it's just a language.
Yeah. And one of the things that I loved most, Christina, that you taught me is astrology doesn't really necessarily, it's not about you putting that on yourself. It's about you exploring and reading the words and saying what feels right to me. It's not saying that is going to happen. That is me. So I have to be this way. Not you putting on this costume. No, it's you tuning into those deepest parts of you and then taking your bits and pieces that feel true along your journey through life with your astrology. That is unique. I have never heard that from an astrologer. And that's been one of my favorite things learning from you.
And can I just say one more thing about that? Astrology should give you more choices, not fewer choices. It should expand the container, not restrict the container. And I'm just going to say, if that's not your experience with astrology, go explore different astrologers because it expands.
Mm-hmm.
Now, April, I got a question. I tend to believe, now you tell me if this is even remotely within the realm of possibility. I believe that we came here with a purpose, that we have a contract that we came and developed before we actually got here. And as part of that contract, our personality traits and how we present ourselves to the world is based upon the movement of the stars and the alignment of the planets. And so that when you were born, you were aligned with that to be who you are. And that's how astrology can be so accurate. Do I need to go back on my medication?
Oh, no, not at all. Actually, I think you hit it spot on, because yes, when we look at a natal chart, we're looking at the whole. And with the whole, we're seeing all of the energies. And a natal chart is the energy that you're working with throughout your entire life. So yes, that's why as the planets continue to move, they will affect certain things in your chart. And so different things will be activated. But I love that you brought up Carolyn Mace, because she is the ultimate like sacred contracts. I love her book, Sacred Contracts. And it is this element of in the astrological chart, we can see dharmic energy and we can see karmic energy. We can see where we came from and we can see where we're going. And so I love the sacred contracts aspect of things, because we are working with this energy. It's our life curriculum, and we can see it in our astrology natal charts. And we can, like Dana and Christina were saying, we get to use that information with our agency and with our free will to, like a map. It's like, okay, here you go. Here's your map. Now that you have more information, what are you going to do with it? How are you going to respond to what is cosmically and like energetically you're feeling? And I will say, so many people that I will talk to, especially that are going through hard, what we call transits or really intense things. Like, have you ever felt just funky or off, where you're like, I don't know what is going on, but I just feel off? Well, we're all energy, so we're feeling it. And so it's nice to know, like, okay, well, just so you know, this is a challenging aspect. This is what it wants you to learn. And you can either choose to learn it or not. And it will end. Like, it will end. And it really, there's validation in that. There's strategy in that. There's progress in that. And there is growth. So it's pretty impressive.
So, see, there was a point in time in my life which I call a bad country music song, which is like, my dad died, my dog died, my wife left, I lost my house, and all the all of these things happen in a short period of time, and so that would be a transit for me. Would that be, because it ended up changing everything?
How old were you?
Yeah,
Kevin?
it would be.
I'm sorry, what?
How old were you when that happened?
I was 40. It was probably between 47 and 50.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
100%. Everybody who's lucky enough to live on the planet that long goes through some very serious, what we call midlife transits.
Right, midlife crisis.
That one would probably be, Kevin, you probably were going through your Chiron return at the point. So yes, a lot of wounding happening at that point.
Well, I was, because I had, when I was a little younger, like at 42, which is in the opening of the show, I said, why am I really here? And is this all there is? There has to be more. And that was a question that kept rattling around in my head. Why am I here? What am I here to do? What is my purpose? And that led to me being on the radio for the first time, and led to a bunch of stuff. And then that collapsed because the energy wasn't right. And then that's when the bad country music song came along, and all these things just went ta-da, 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 ta-da. And it's like, okay. So is that, but that's kind of normal for everybody, isn't it?
Honestly, we could do a whole show on midlife transits. It's the generational planet. So it's Pluto, Neptune, Uranus, and everybody's going through about those same ages, that same generation. And we could dive into what's happening, why it's happening, and what it wants you to learn from it. Like, it's really, really powerful.
Oh, that's,
do you know what's so interesting is we all are like, don't we wish that our children came with a guidebook? Or don't we wish that we came with a guidebook? This is the astrology, looking at your astrology is a guidebook. That's the most beautiful part. And a lot of times, you know, anyone listening, maybe if you know very little, like I did about my astrology, I only knew my sun sign, which is Pisces. Not all the things that came out about people who have the sun sign Pisces, like not all the Pisces horoscopes fit for me. And it's because my whole chart is involved. All the elements and all the energies are involved. So all the things that come out aren't going to be a fit because I am uniquely dynamic to my own chart.
I have another question.
Yes.
And this would be in 2001, I was 44 and my birthday is 9/11. And I was curious to know if that was by design to go into be part of the 9/11 experience that we all had, as far as a marker in my life to change what I was doing and who I was. Is that possible?
I would say 100%. And around 44 is the Uranus opposition. It would be one of these shows, Kevin. Let's dive into your chart and look at that specific day. And 100%, like you said earlier, you believe that we planned to be here in all of the things so that our souls can evolve. Different words, but that's what I perceived from what you said.
That was
And
correct.
so absolutely, you planned that, and that is a big part of your life experience.
That is so interesting, Dana.
Yeah. So now that we have that, April, did you have anything that you usually refer back to people who are like astrology, like the skeptics? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
Yes, I love the skeptics because I'm married to one. And he challenges me at every single like information or new thing that I learn or anything. He's always like, prove it. So I do appreciate that people who aren't like diving in wholeheartedly, like blind obedience kind of thing, and want some more information, because I do think that the tricky thing about astrology is the reason why it gets the woo-woo, hooky kind of vibe to it is it's using energy. And we can't see energy, even though that's what everything is. It's hard to associate that everything is energy. Well, the interesting thing about the planets is they're all energy, and they all carry with them specific energetic qualities and characteristics. So at the moment we take our first breath, we have this element of like imprint from the stars. So that's what creates our map, our natal chart. And with like, people are like, well, that's in the sky, it's so far away, like how does that even affect us? But is scientific measurements, they have proven that the distance between Pluto and us is actually closer than some of the cells in our body. And so you can imagine, like, you can grasp that, like, oh, my cells in my body are all working together in one organism of me. And so therefore this whole like macrocosm, microcosm concept of like the universe is within me and I work. So why shouldn't the universe outside of me work for my good too? So it can be very like quantum, but at the same time, scientifically it's there.
Yeah. I love this. This is so cool.
April, I want you to ask your husband a question.
Yes, please.
How does the radio in his car work? There aren't any wires there. There's no, you can't see radio waves, but they're there. We know they're there because you turn the radio on and it works and you hear music. But how does that happen? 400 years ago, if you would have said that, you would have been put to death by, it would have burned you at the stake, because it's witchcraft. to be like, so it's just energy. Energy is everywhere.
I love
Oh,
it.
that's cool.
So ladies, can we talk about the astrology 101? Like, what are the basic foundations for people who are listening who are like, I know very little to nothing about astrology, and I'm even a little skeptic. What are some things that you would start out teaching somebody about astrology? The basics.
So I always like to start with what I call the big five. So that's looking at their sun, their moon, their rising sign or their ascendant. That's a little bit more. Okay. So the ruler of their chart. So that's a specific planet that's highly impacting this life. And then Chiron, the wounded healer. Those are the 5 points that I would look at with someone. And what that means is, where are those specific, Chiron is actually an asteroid out in the asteroid belt. And so we would look at those specific things. Those are planets, and where are they in your natal chart? In the natal chart, you have planets. Those are like the actors in the drama of your life. You have signs, that's the Pisces and the Aquarius and the Gemini and all that. Those are the roles that those planets or actors are playing. And we all have the same actors, but they're playing different roles. And then if you look at an astrology chart, you'll see numbers that go around backwards, and it's almost like it's sliced into a pie into 12 pieces. Those are the stage directions. Where in your life is the action taking place? Because each one of those houses pertains to a different life theme. And then to get even more technical, so if you just went and you Googled, for example, like somebody famous's astrology chart, you'd see in the middle like all these lines everywhere. That's how the planets are speaking to each other through sacred geometry. It's how they're interacting with each other. So one more time, just breaking that down, the whole chart is the stage of the theater of your life. The planets are the actors. The signs are the roles. The houses or the pie slices are the stage directions or places where the action is happening, and the aspects are the dialogue. When you can start to extract that and build a story with that, you get so many amazingly deep insights. And start out with those big five: the sun, the moon, the rising, which is going to be the line furthest to the left of the chart, the chart ruler, which is a little bit more in depth. If you just started with those three, and Chiron, anybody can start from right there. And you're going to leave that little session with your astrology self so well informed.
I love that.
Well, and I would like to say too, okay, so the yes, those big five are wonderful. And to break down why you want to know those big five, your sun sign actually rules who you are. It's like it's your inner, or not your inner self, it's your like natural self. It's what you came here just naturally good, naturally brilliant at. It's your default mode. And then your moon sign is your inner self. It's what you need to feel safe and secure. And so that's why it's so beneficial to understand what your moon sign is, because your sun sign could be something completely different, but then your moon sign, what you need, your inner needs, can be something totally different. And then your rising sign is how you project yourself to the world. So that's why somebody could be like, oh, this is like, could describe you one way, and you're like, that's not me. They're experiencing your rising sign. And so knowing those three specifically are really helpful just to understand the pillars of your personality.
I love that, because in my life, I've actually had I've had a career in public speaking, over the last 14 years. And so I've done a lot of in-person trainings and events. And so with that comes a lot of feedback, a lot. And it's been really interesting over the years to see the feedback and to be sometimes very confused actually by the feedback that's being offered. Like, I don't see that, or, that's an interesting perspective. And sometimes it even hurt, sometimes the feedback was even like, ow, that did not feel very good. And I did not like that. But why does that bother me so much? And looking at my chart, it's really interesting to learn these different things about me, of like, oh, other people will actually experience me different than I will experience me. that will happen in this life, and that's okay. And that's why there's value in knowing these different things, because if I know me and I'm solid in me, which I have become over the years more solid, then other people's feedback, I'll be like, oh, that's just this aspect of my chart that they just experienced. Yeah, I can see that. And it's not personal anymore. It's just this experience that's taking place. It's like, oh, that's not personal, or, oh, that's interesting. Or, it's so fun to be able to be in your power and have kind of this unshakable confidence that's being built through understanding these different aspects of your chart. I just find it so interesting.
Is that kind of like if somebody has not heard their recorded voice and then they hear their recorded voice and they go, that doesn't sound like me at all. That's not, because the perception from what you're presenting is different than what you think it is. Does that make sense?
I think that's a great analogy, Kevin. Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. Okay, somebody go.
My internet's being weird, so I missed almost all of that.
you got. Okay, let me say it again real quick. Is that like the first time, Dana, that you heard your recorded voice, it sounded different than the voice in your head. That's because you're presenting yourself to the world differently than you think you are, because it's a different voice and all that. And they said that was actually really good. So I get to be done now.
Yeah. Gold star.
And by the way, we're talking with April Millar, right? Say your last name for me, please.
It's very arrogant. It should be Millar, but we pronounce it Millar. Yes.
Perfect. And Christina Jenkins, I can get pretty easily. If somebody wants to get a hold of you, how do they find you, and so that they can work with you and to learn more about their own chart and to talk with you and put it all into perspective?
Yeah,
Christina,
the easiest way to reach both of us is workwiththemoon.com. You can find both of us on workwiththemoon.com.
Yeah, and what's fun about Work with the Moon, so we actually use the astrology of what's happening. We read what's happening in the stars right now, and we put it into a like ritual workbooks that you can work with the moon. So every new moon and full moon, which today is the new moon in Aquarius, so happy new moon. If you want to kind of use that cosmic wind at your back and move with the energy that's happening, we help make that super easy for you at workwiththemoon.com. So,
well, I
have a subscription to this, and I love these books. I love the questions, the introspection. There's so much value. You guys, our world is demanding that we learn our truth, that we learn how to decipher truth, that we tune into our own inner knowing. It's demanding it with the internet, with all these things out there, with all this different information, conflicting information. The world is really demanding it of us. And if you're someone who's just go, stress, you're going to work yourself to pieces. And so taking this time monthly to be with yourself, to ask yourself introspective questions, to really be in that and understand these different parts of you, it is priceless right now. And actually, I do believe it will be the sustaining factor for many moving forward. That the world is calling us to go within and to have a strong inner foundation. And you only do that by investing time in you. You don't create a really incredible relationship with a significant other by avoiding them, mistreating them, even maybe, talking to them mean and neglecting them. You don't. Same thing with you. And that's why these workbooks and the things they put in it, not to mention there's fun stuff in there. Like there's all kinds of like tea recipes and drink recipes, and there's fun stuff in there to look at and to consider. And they put like famous people who have these signs, and it's just so well done, and it's fun, but it's introspective. And I really do think more than ever, this is the time to be doing this kind of work. And this is a simple way to start, super simple way to start. Just a little journal prompt booklet every month for you. So highly, highly recommend workwiththemoon.com, right? Workwiththemoon.com. Once I subscribe, I didn't have to memorize it because I put in my bookmarks. But yes.
Well, one of the things that April and I always say is if you just made a date with yourself for the new moon and the full moon to just spend an hour with yourself or in community, because we also offer a moon ritual out of the box. So you can call in a community or just do it as a small group. But if you just did that, it would absolutely change your life, because you're doing, like you said, Dana, that reflective time, that anchoring into yourself so that you can then, serve in your community, however that looks. But we must be anchored in ourselves. And two, because you're working with the cosmic wind at your back. I mean, wouldn't life be different if you were working with the cosmic wind at your back?
And we need to take a break real quick. But when we come back, I'm going to ask you, and maybe you can work up a chart real quick. But like, do you have like what's going to happen in the world? Kind of where we're going over the next 12 months, because it's going to be a fabulously interesting time over the next 12 months or so through next November. So we need to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We're talking with April Millar and Christina Jenkins and Dana Parker, and we'll be right back. You're listening to Positive Talk. Commercial. Play. And
Okay.
I have to do one of these at the bottom of the hour, and then for Brushwood Media, and then we can come back. I've got one more break that we'll do at about 40 after or so. But then
and it's nice enough to actually put in the smooth exit into commercial. You know how some podcasts you listen to, it's just like cut. All of a sudden they're like talking, you're like, what? A commercial?
What just happened?
I like to treat this like it's
talking about the big astrological events of the year. April, is that where you're going?
That's kind of where I was going. Yeah. All right. Why don't we come back and we'll figure it out on the air. And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald. We've got a great show for you today. We got a couple of astrologers, and astrology is a really cool thing. And we've been talking about it. April is here and Christine is here, and they were brought here by Dana, who works with them and highly approves of their work and what they do. And I'm really excited to have you guys here, and I know that you work with individual charts and you work with people to figure out what they're supposed to be doing with themselves and how they present themselves and that sort of thing. But you also do a broader scale version of that that includes all of us and where the moon's going to be and where the sun's going to be and where the orange man's going to, well, wait, never mind, Frank didn't say that. And things like that. So I was wondering sorry. So I was wondering if you guys could kind of give us an overview of what 2024, since we're just getting into it, what 2024 holds for all of us, and should we be holding on to the railing hoping to, or is everything going to be okay?
I love this question because everybody has like some anticipation. Like, it's like, okay, especially for the last 4 years, right? We just don't know what to expect. But guess what? When we can read the stars, there is a level of like, okay, here's the type of energy that's coming in, and you get to decide how you're going to work with it. So Christina and I basically themed, when we looked at over the 2024 year, we themed out it, or the theme we put on it is heal your stuff, heal your crap, because it's going to be a big year of your inner wounds coming to the surface, ready to be healed. One of the main big players this year is a asteroid actually in the sky called Chiron, and Chiron is the wounded healer. It's in every single one of our charts, and it shows our woundings and specifically. But as the collective, what's happening in the sky right now, it started in January, and we had this connection point with Chiron, our wounding, and Venus, our relationships. And so it was like, okay, we have a big year of going inward because our wounds are coming to the surface. So gather your people, gather your tribe, gather the people that are here to have your back, that are they're rooting for your healing. Gather your people because you're gonna need them through the year, because Chiron is literally gonna hit almost everything, or gonna be in communication. Your wounding is gonna be in communication with almost every planet throughout the year. And so it's going to bring up wounding in every area of your life.
Oh boy, it sounds like a big year.
But that I want to bring a little bit of perspective to this, because when this kind of stuff happens, especially as a life coach who speaks about emotions and helps in that, this is one of those topics that personally, because of the tools that I have, I'm like, that's exciting. I get excited. I'm the weirdo that gets excited. Anyone else listening though, what this really means on a level, like day-to-day level, is when things come up that don't feel good, that don't feel right, those things are just calling for your love and attention. Just because you feel it doesn't mean it's actual truth. And this is why it's so important, like April said, to have a community that they see the real you. They show you who you really are. They remind you of your greatness when you're having those, hard days full of self-doubt, where maybe you're seeing the harder aspects of your humanness or your human experience. Those people that will remind you of your greatness and remind you of who you are. And so that's why those elements are really important. And I just want to plug self-compassion, loving curiosity. Like, these things are not truths. They have felt that way. They're not absolutely true about you, especially when they're negative. And I like to kind of compare it to a lie. If someone lies to you, how does it feel? Well, it feels bad. Same thing. When you have those lies within you, it does not feel good. And so reminding yourself of those things, being gentle with yourself through that process, bringing self-love and self-compassion to those things, and learning from astrologists like April and Christina, even a session to look at your chart and how your wounds might show up this year could transform your year and how you see it and how you view the things that happen.
I love that. And one of the things you said is having that compassion. That is actually what Chiron is here to teach us. It's the wound that becomes the wisdom. It's the place that you deeply know what that wound feels like, so you can have compassion. And so I love that you brought that in. So yeah, that's one of our big things for this year is, and I do every time I think of our theme, April, the heal your stuff. We have the cosmic wind at our back to heal the stuff. But remember, when we heal our stuff, there's different ways. Sometimes you got to peel the scab off, not to be gross, but you got to peel it off and let it heal from the inside instead of just like covering it up with a Band-Aid. And remember also, you can transform through joy and play and laughter just as much. That is absolutely as transformative as crying your eyes out. It's just as transformative. And there's a place for each.
Yeah.
And I will
so good.
Go ahead.
No. Oh, I was just going to say, if you don't, I love that you back up the community and the people. Like, if you don't have people around you that you feel that are supportive of you, this year also is a beautiful year of finding soul people, finding people that you even virtually that you can connect with, that really can love and appreciate. And because it's hard to therapy yourself. And so you need that reflection and that love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dana.
And I just want to piggyback on what April said real quick, that if you're looking for that, follow us on Facebook. Follow Christina and April and I. Like, start filling your feed with positive, because we are always putting out positive messages. listen and follow Positive Talk Radio. Like, star that, listen to that regularly. Like, those are the daily action things that are going to be so valuable as you move through this. And reach out. We actually, the three of us are creating community right now online. So reach out. We'd love to support and help. So go ahead, Christina and Kevin. Sorry.
I was just going to add that when April was talking about your change in your vibration, your energy level can cause a dysfunction with other people who are choosing not to raise their energy level and their vibration at the same time. So sometimes that leads to people that exit your life because it doesn't work for you or for them anymore. And that's okay, because that's part of your growth. Am I correct in that, ladies?
100%.
Yeah. I also think sometimes it's not that they won't grow in vibration. Maybe they're just choosing a different path, a different way that they want to go, that their soul wants to go, that you're like, that doesn't resonate with me at all. That doesn't feel right. And that also can be a parting of ways too, that can feel hard.
That's one of the things that I love the most about astrology is when you look at that chart, it gives you this level of compassion for people to change, for people to become who they are. And that might mean that they are very different than the person you got to know. And maybe that just doesn't mesh anymore. Isn't it beautiful to be in a community where you have permission to change?
Absolutely.
Yes,
Absolutely.
for sure.
And that is so needed. That is so needed. By the way, we're talking with April Millar and Christina Jenkins and Dana Parker. We need to take our final break for the hour, and we're just going to be gone just a second. Just relax. Stay right where you are. We'll be right back. And then we'll come right back because we're going to run out of time for you guys. So, ready? And welcome back to Positive Talk with Kevin McDonald here on the Brushwood Radio or Brushwood Media Network. Good Lord. It's great to have the ladies that we have here. They are so smart. Dana, you picked some awesome human beings to come here and talk with us because they know their stuff and their stuff is real. I know you've experienced that, Dana.
For sure. Yes. Both of them, like, just wealth of wisdom. I mean, we all have been creating some really fun new things together. So I've had the honor and opportunity to actually have daily check-ins and even spending hours and hours working with these ladies on these different projects. So we end up talking in between, which is so much fun. And they, to their core, a wealth of wisdom and knowledge and hearts of gold. So I'm so grateful. And actually, we're excited because we're going to have Christina and April on regularly to talk astrology and what the next month is looking like. And so be ready for that. Be looking for those regular podcast shows that are coming on for you with both of them in it, because we're going to get to glean from that wisdom and that wealth of knowledge that they have, little by little, bit by bit.
Well, because you work with the moon cycles, and there's a cycle every 30 days. So to learn the next cycle, you need to come back so that we can talk about it.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, actually, the biggest transits of the year is happening next week, where Chiron and the North Node. So Chiron is your wounded healer, and the North Node is your life purpose. They are meeting together in the sky. And so there's this beautiful energy of like connecting to who you are meant to be here, what you're meant to do, and bringing and letting go of the things, the limiting beliefs, the things that you have brought up, or like things that have blocked you in the past from that trajectory of where you are headed and where, like, your dharma, the path, your life path in this lifetime.
Well, and the next time we get together, I would love for you guys to look at my chart and to tell me whether or not I should be doing this or if I just suck and should not be doing it. But by the way, we can't swear, but we can kind of work around swearing on this
We can
thing.
work around it. Well, as
Yeah.
we're wrapping up, ladies, do you want to talk about what people can expect? I mean, we're at the first of the month. Is there anything else that we would add to this month and the forecast of the month as it looks?
Sure, April. It seems like you've got that right in front of you.
I actually don't, but I
Okay.
do. Do you have things you want to add to that? I can.
Well, I
can talk.
I would love to talk just for a minute about Pluto and the Jupiter-Uranus conjunction. Those are macro. While you're pulling out the daily report, because mine is over on the other side of my room, because I was looking at it this morning, looking at what my day and week was going to look like. But last month on January 20th, the Sun and Pluto both moved into Aquarius. Now that happens every year for the Sun, but it hasn't happened for over 250 years for Pluto, with the exception of just a quick dip into that in 2023. The last time that Pluto spent a lot of time in Aquarius was in the late 1700s.
Wow.
So just think about the revolution. That is one of the words of Aquarius. The beginning of the industrial age, Aquarius rules industry and technology, that was happening during that time. Go back to the early 1500s, which was the previous time that Pluto was in Aquarius, and that was the time of the Reformation. So a breaking away from the old structures and power to the people. This is the Aquarian energy. When it doesn't take a big stretch of our imagination, especially if you're here in the United States of America, to see how there are some parallels and similarities happening. So this is a huge transit with Pluto moving into Aquarius. He'll be there the entire year except for between September and November, because planets go retrograde. In fact, because retrograde is something that a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, planets don't go backwards in the sky. You are 100% right. They don't. But think of a track, and on that track, there is a point when a planet or a person, in this case, in this analogy, is about to overtake you. And if you're watching it, it looks like things slow down and they move backwards. This is an astronomical phenomenon that all astrologers for all time have observed. Is it looks like the planets are moving backwards because Venus and Mercury move faster than the Earth. The other planets move slower. So if we lived on Venus, Earth would appear to go backwards in the sky. So it's all an optical illusion. So anyway, for people that are doubters, since we talked about that, I just wanted to explain the retrograde thing. But that's one big thing. On April 20th, interestingly, which happens to be our own April Millar's birthday, we have a big conjunction, which is when Jupiter meets up with Uranus in the sky in the sign of Taurus at 22 degrees. And so Jupiter is all about expansion. It's very benevolent, and it just wants everything to be happy and big and joyful and optimistic. And Uranus is the ruler of Aquarius. So that means he's revolutionary, he's surprising, he rules electricity, and he deeply loves humanity. So when that comes together, think of that like the spark of these two energies blending together. And it's going to be very fascinating to see what that looks like. And as it gets closer, that's something that we can, just share some of our insights and predictions around that. So those are just two things that are coming up in the next few months, or has happened most recently, that are big and are shifting our planet on a global scale.
I have got a huge question that I've been waiting 50 years to ask for these two astrologers. And that is, when I was in grade school and we learned about the 9 planets, Pluto and all of those. Uranus was what we called it back then, and now it's not. It's no longer Uranus. It's Uranus or Uranus. It's different things. Is that because of society that, or was that the way it was supposed to be, and we just couldn't figure out how to pronounce it?
So it doesn't matter how you say it. It is going to evoke giggles because we all have an inner middle schooler. Okay, it's going to evoke giggles. And this is a known fact. Uranus, that planet gets less research done on it because it's a funny name. Isn't that interesting? So call it whatever you want. We all know what you're talking about. But if we're talking about, how in text messages we write, you are anus. That's actually how it is spelled, Uranus. But call it whatever you want.
Well, and see, and that's the thing, is because nobody wants to do research on it because nobody wants to mess around with Uranus.
No one wants to mess around with all the inner middle schoolers.
that was my 5th grade joke, by the way.
Yes. Loved it.
No, if you want to be serious, you can't be taken seriously with Uranus. That's for sure.
That is so true. That is so true. Ladies, I know that you have got another appointment that you have to go to, and we are really pleased to have you here. And I want to give each of you a moment in time to tell our audience anything that you would like them to know. We'll go alphabetically. April, you get to go first.
Okay. Okay, well, anything I want to tell them. Okay, I'm actually going to this day, February 9th, is the new moon in Aquarius. And so I want you to know that what the energy that's coming up with this new moon is literally that you are an influence of the collective. Whatever you do, know that, especially if you're doing it from your highest joy and it's something that is bringing you so much light, you are actually raising the vibration of the world. And so go forth, especially today, do something that lights you up, that brings joy to your heart, and know that you are making waves in the world.
Christina?
I would love to share with people to have compassion for yourself. Have compassion for yourself. You play with life. Like, you really can't mess it up. It's all an experience. So have that deep love and compassion for yourself, and find a community where you can be yourself and where others are permitted to be themselves. This is the age of Aquarius. And that's what we have: compassion and ability to shine in our own unique beauty.
And that was a song by the Fifth Dimension. Just wanted to say. And Dana?
It's on the Aquarius playlist at the top.
I love it. I think what I would say is, to quote Aristotle, know thyself. It's the beginning of all wisdom. Now is the time. It is a call to action, that it is time to create an unshakable foundation in you by knowing yourself so well that whatever happens outside of you, you can go with the flow and you can pull from your strengths and understand and have compassion for your weaknesses. Now is the time, and this is the invitation. And I encourage anyone listening to this to reach out, find what those resources are for you. There's a variety of ways you can go about this. Astrology is one of them. And so reach out, find those things, ask the universe to bring those things into your purview, and then choose in, because it's time.
And I have to tell you, today is the day where we get to raise our vibration. And what you're doing, if you're doing with passion and love and all that, I get to win, because I'm passionate about this. I love doing these. I love talking to people like you. You are just amazing. And it's been great fun having you here. And I'm glad that you're going to be coming back on a regular basis. Dana, you get 2 stars. Okay, 5. You can have 5 stars.
I love it. I receive it.
Very good. Very good. And that's something that's new for her, by the way. Several years ago, it was like, oh, no, I can't. No. And now she receives it. and that's really good. Ladies, I know you've got to go. I want to thank you so much for coming here and for talking with us today. And we're going to see you. I'm not exactly sure what date it's going to be, so look at the schedule, folks, and then you will get the word out about when these guys are coming back, because there are people that have been listening. So astrology, it may befuddle some people, but they are interested in it. That's a fact. And so, ladies, thank you. Dana, thank you. And let me. I'll be right back. Hey, thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of PositiveTalkRadio.net. Please visit our website, oddly named PositiveTalkRadio.net, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to one another, because each other's all we got.